So after the first game of the Dan Quinn era for the Washington Commanders, there are some things that I observed that I have to be honest with you about Dan Quinn. Let's talk about it.
The way that we live is not for everybody. We're going to run and put our bodies on people in a violent manner.
I love the way she move it, shake it on me. When she cry for him, and Shawty is the winner. You can tell that Shawty's
You know what time it is. It's time to come out.
I love the way she move it, shake it on me.
YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here. We have the Washington Commanders video, and in today's video, I'm coming on here with the video. We're going to be talking about Dan Quinn and the honesty behind him. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. Before we do, make sure you guys go down below, leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, turn on post notifications so you get notified when I upload new videos like this to the channel. We're on the road to 8,000 subscribers, so we'd greatly appreciate it if you reach that goal as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Let's get straight into today's video. Alrighty, so I want to first start by talking about some house cleaning things. First things first, y'all. I think I'm done streaming. I think I'm done streaming the live play-by-plays. As you guys know, that's something that I've done on the channel for the last about 4 or 5 years, like since 2019, 2020. I was streaming the live play-by-plays. But to be honest with you, man, over the times, my support for that has decreased, and other people in the community has taken it to the next level. And as a person that's been in the community for a long time, I'm super excited for them and super happy for them. No problem at all with them taking over with the live play-by-plays. Love to see them thrive. But for me, I'm just done with it because I feel like I could either replace that with something different, or I also could just thoroughly watch the game again, you know what I'm saying, without having to, commentate or live play-by-play the game. Like, I love doing that, but to be honest with you, if I'm doing that for 3-4 people, what fun is that? You know what I'm saying? It was fun when I had my run, but now the torch has been passed. And again, I'm no person to be hating on that. I'm no person to be upset with that. It is what it is. But I just wanted to bring that to your doorstep, and so you don't have to keep asking or wondering if I'm gonna be streaming. I'm leaning towards not streaming anymore. If I start to get enough support with the live play-by-plays, maybe it'll return. But at the current moment, just truthfully and transparent, I don't get enough support on those anymore like I used to back in the day. If you was around during the 2020 times, you know how lit we were on those streams. So it's all good for me. I ain't really too worried about it, but I just want to tell you guys that that's probably what I'm leaning more towards not doing anymore, is streaming the games how I used to. But just leave your thoughts down below in the comment section and let me know how you're feeling about it, and we can get back into today's video. So the Washington Commanders head coach Dan Quinn, he had his first game as the Washington Commanders head coach, and honestly, for me, a lot of things were put on full display that needs to be talked about as far as the honest truth about how this season is going to be for Dan Quinn. I'm not telling you Dan Quinn is the best head coach ever. I'm not telling you that he's the perfect head coach ever. I'm not even telling you that he's going to get a second contract here in Washington. But what I am telling you is that this is a rebuild. I quickly realized that the first game of the season. I know in the offseason I tried to talk myself into, oh, maybe we could be like the Texans, or maybe we could be like the Lions, or maybe we could just have this crazy 1-year growth, and just blossom. And again, maybe that still can happen, right? But right now, and after seeing our team, we're not good enough, especially on the defensive end. And the reason why I say we got to be honest with it is because none of this is Dan Quinn's fault. He is inheriting Ron Rivera's roster. So we have to tread lightly with Dan Quinn. I'm not telling you don't blame him for anything, like the 2-point conversion that he decided not to go for, or maybe even the fourth and 5, 4th and 6 across midfield, like him not electing to go for that. Maybe you could hold that over his head. But as far as the personnel, players, and why we're not as successful as we could be, it's not his fault. You know what I'm saying? It's just the personnel, especially on the defensive end of the ball, like with the defensive side of the ball. We don't have the secondary that can run their scheme. Because you tell me you hire a guy that was successful in Seattle, that was successful in Atlanta, that was successful in Dallas, and then him and a person that was successful with him in Dallas comes over here and Joe Witt Jr. and the defense is just trash. It just falls apart. I have a hard time believing that. I personally think it's the freaking personnel. We're playing with Ron Rivera guys. Yes, Mike Sainristil is a Dan Quinn guy, and Jeremy Chin is a Dan Quinn guy. Everyone else in that secondary, if I could that are getting valuable playing time, is Ron Rivera guys, and they're just not good enough. You telling me Dan Quinn could turn Trayvon Diggs into a star, DeRon Bland into a star, Jordan Lewis into a star, and he just comes to Washington and now he's just trash and washed up? I have a hard time believing that. So when you're judging Dan Quinn this season, try to remember that one, we are in a rebuild, and two, a lot of these defensive pieces are not his guys. So he has to wait until next free agency and next draft to really start to turn over this roster completely and shape it into being his guys on the back end. As far as the defensive line, I don't know about you all, but I honestly felt like the pressure for the defensive line was pretty solid. I felt like we should have had maybe 4 or 5 to 6 sacks Sunday. However, Baker Mayfield he's just a G. He's just a G. I mean, we got pressure and he just bounced off the tackle. He broke it, or he made a play with the throw. Like he's just a G, bro. And like you just gotta give him his flowers for some plays. But the pressure, that's the best I've seen us rush in years, right? Cleveland Ferrell getting the sack, right? And Cleveland Ferrell isn't nearly the athlete or the projected talent of a Chase Young or Montez Sweat, but that's the best pressure I haven't seen us get in a long time. Interiorly, I will say Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen were good in that first half. They do have a habit of disappearing late into games, so hopefully we can clean that up. But my worries is really just the secondary. The linebackers were pretty solid. Again, the only issue with the linebackers were that we couldn't tackle. Like we really couldn't. Like the Rashad White screen to the left side, Bobby Wagner blew it up, but he couldn't tackle. Right? You know what I'm saying? And it just is frustrating, that aspect. The good thing about it is we have guys in that room that knows that now. Like Bobby Wagner is not gonna come out there doing that again, right? I doubt a guy like Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen is gonna do that again. Like they know they're getting there, they just gotta finish the play. So when it comes to judging Dan Quinn, again, this is why the video is titled "The Honest Truth About Dan Quinn," is we got to be cool this season. It's really not his fault. Whatever happens this season is not his fault unless it's like something that transpired in season that he had control over. But as far as the roster, the player personnel, you can't expect for them to overturn that into one off season. It's not an overnight change. If that was the case, every team would be good. K York, the kicker position, I mean, you could kind of put that on him. They could have brought back Joey Sly. But Brandon McManus, he was supposed to be our kicker. So who knows how that situation would have went out there. Could you still go out and get Brandon McManus? Yeah, you could. But do you really want to go back to a guy that you kind of gave up on because of some allegations that I'm not saying aren't true, but just in the moment you had to do what was best for the organization? Do you want to double back on that? You know? So I guess the only thing that you can really pin on Dan Quinn this season thus far is the lack of getting a kicker, but a lot of it it's not really his fault because he didn't tell Brandon McManus to do that. You know what I'm saying? He didn't tell what's the guy's name? The UFL kicker we cut to barely be making the kicks. They went in, but they barely made it. You know what I'm saying? He didn't tell K York to go out there and stink it up, right? You know what I'm saying? So like. I just, a lot of this season, I'm going to be kind of at peace with knowing that next season, the season after that, that's when Dan Quinn is going to take over. But in year one of trying to herd a roster it wasn't the worst. I'm not gonna sit up here and act like Ron Rivera left us in the worst possible shape, but it was definitely pieces that we were in positions to get that we didn't. Right? You look at the draft in 2021. You could have got Christian Durasol, right? You could have even got Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah if you wanted a linebacker that bad in the first round. In 2022, you could have got Kyle Hamilton, could have got Chris Olave, right? You could have got a plethora of other talents, George Pickens, right? And in 2023, you take Emmanuel Forbes when the clear glaring need and the clear glaring best cornerback at the position was Christian Gonzalez, and he was still on the board. And let's check on Emmanuel Forbes. Emmanuel Forbes is still getting benched in his first ever game. Christian Gonzalez strapping up star wide receivers in every single matchup he's had thus far in his young career. It's frustrating that we have to do that. That's not Dan Quinn's fault. If Dan Quinn was here, he would have drafted Christian Gonzalez. He would have drafted Kyle Hamilton. But he has to hear that because he has to deal with Emmanuel Forbes. I think they want to cut Emmanuel Forbes. I don't think they want him to be on the team. But they know, unlike Jahan Dotson, Emmanuel Forbes only has one season under his belt. If this was his second year going into his third year, they probably would have gave him the Jahan Dotson treatment. Because if him giving up a pass interference face mask on one play and they bench him after, don't tell you how they feel about him, I don't know what will. Because Benjamin St. Juste, even though he wasn't that good either, and even though he isn't much better, he can go out there and get a face mask and a penalty on one play, and they're not going to bench him. And a lot of that is due to how lack of talent we have behind them, yeah. But they benched the first round pick after that. And the lack of talent behind the first round pick isn't no better. But they still felt the need that they said he's so bad, we don't need him. We don't want no parts of him, that we could bench him and put in Noah Iganagani. Let that sink in. That, in my opinion, tells you all you need to know about how they personally feel about Emmanuel Forbes. And then when you go to the offensive side of the ball, offensively, I think we're fine. I just think we need more wide receivers. But offensive line, it was okay. Does it need to be upgraded? Yes, I think the right side, specifically right tackle, needs to be upgraded. I think Brandon Coleman should be pushed into the starting lineup just to see what he has. But the offensive line was okay. It does need work because after looking at the game, looking at it back, Jaden Daniels was scrambling a lot because he wasn't comfortable sitting in the pocket because the pocket was getting pushed back on him a lot. So I'm not going to sit up here and act like we're perfect. But again, that goes into you have to revamp this offensive line through drafts and free agency over time. They tried to do what they could. Locking up Sam Cosmi, bringing in Nick Algreedy, bringing in Tyler Biadasz, all right, bringing in a guy like Brandon Coleman. They tried. But the reality is it's going to take a couple years to put together a really, really good group. And that's why I'm saying, after realizing what I saw yesterday, this ain't a 10, 11 win team, 9-win team, how I hope for. I hope it can happen, and I'm just a hopeful fan that every time we get around this year, I always try to be positive and say, oh man, we could be this, we could be that, and then when we get out there, it's the same old thing, right? But the difference is we got a quarterback now, and we got a coach that I believe in, and a general manager that I believe in. It's just all about trust in the process. Am I giving up on the season? No. If we lose to the Giants, am I giving up on the season? There's a strong possibility because the Giants are freaking horrible. But if we go out there and not just beat the Giants 17-20, I'm talking about lay belt in them, then my confidence is going to be back. However, right now, I'm not mad. I'm not pissed because I already knew what the season was going to be. But this is just the honest truth about Dan Quinn. A lot of the problems that we face this season are not his fault. And he just has to deal with it until he can really rebuild this roster into what he would like it to be. I want to take a quick pause into today's video and give a huge shout out to SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the sponsor for this channel. And right now only, you can get $20 off your first purchase by punching in the promo code JUangottibusiness. Again, $20 off your first purchase by punching in the promo code JUangottibusiness. Gotti. And again, season opener, home opener is this Sunday. So I know a lot of you guys are going to be in attendance for that. So go ahead, use that promo code. And if, let's say you already bought your tickets and you want to use that $20 off on parking, because you know Northwest Federal Credit Union Stadium is expensive parking. Well, you can go ahead and use Juan Gotti promo code to get $20 off your parking. The same way you would do if you were buying the percentages off for the tickets. Alrighty, y'all have a blessed one. Stay safe. Be easy out there. As always, me and boy Juan Gotti. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you have a blessed day. See y'all later. Peace out.